We had a pen writers meeting. We have a group that's statewide, but we have a chapter here. And one of the gals next to me says, "Hey, Gene, I know that's boring. Why don't you just bring Joe Root back to life?" And I looked at her, I said, "Oh, sure, that'll work." The more I got home the next morning, I said, "Wait a minute."
And the people love the peninsula. Erie people, I mean, they do.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
They love it. And for you to, like you say, bring them back to life and make them,
That really worked well. And you know what they call this kind of writing? Fiction, all right? It's not fiction, it's faction.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they call it. It's called faction, taking a... Hi, I'm Eugene Ware, and I'm a writer, a former financial executive that is also a photographer, and I write as a hobby, but all of a sudden it's becoming a real chore, except that I love it. And right now I have 4 books started, and I write for the newspaper.
Presque Isle seems to be a point of interest. What interests you about the history of Presque Isle and Erie in general?
I don't know, as time went on, when I got to the point where I knew I was going to retire, and history has always been something I wanted, and I had written one book called The History of Presque Isle, and all of a sudden I wanted to write more and more and more about Presque Isle, because as a kid I was out there all the time. When the old Michigan was on where Perry Monument is, I used to climb aboard it as a kid, 8 and 10 years old, until the park police chased us off of it. But that's how I got started in writing. My first book was a poetry book, Moods of Presque Isle. And when I told and it's a book of poetry. When I told my wife I was going to write a book of poetry with my pictures, she laughed. She said, "You gotta be kidding, poetry? You?"
What's sort of the origin story of your writing?
There was a poet in there that got me interested in starting poetry. But once I got the poetry started, I just started branching out. And history is what I love.
What connects you to like a certain topic, when writing a book or even a news article?
I was on all of the boards of Presque Isle, all right? The Lighthouse board, I started the Presque Isle, a founder of the Presque Isle Partnership. I was on the Tom Ridge Foundation. Everything since I was about 50 was related to Presque Isle, because my wife and I used to walk all of the time. We even walked out there when Harry Leslie was the manager, and we're walking and it's below zero and the wind is blowing, and we're walking the multi-purpose trail and it goes by his house. He opened the door and said, "What are you two nuts?" And Presque Isle is a unique place. There is nothing anywhere like it.
How did the writing class begin here? How did that start?
I started a writing class for seniors at Lincoln Library 3 years ago, and we got to publish so far 9 of the people who went to the class. They're published authors. One, Cincy Zahner, has published 9 books, and Jane Simon 5 books. And moving here to Parkside, I'm looking at the seniors, and some of them said, "Well, I hear you have a class." And I said, "Yeah, I do." He says, "Well, would you be interested in trying to help some of us write?"
What sort of lessons or grammar or?
It's all of that. It's all grammar and all of that. And I try to right off the bat tell them there's something called the morning papers. What it is you get up every morning, you take a legal pad, and you start writing whatever comes into your mind. And you keep writing at the bottom of the page. And the next day you go 2 pages of that. And then finally you go to 3 pages of that. Then from there on out, in your whole writing career, you're going to write 3 pages of whatever comes into your mind. Now, the first question is, what if nothing comes into my mind? And as I tell all of them, then write, "I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I guarantee by you get halfway down the page, something will pop in there and you'll put it down." What it does is free thinking. Writers have to free think and break all of the barriers. "Oh, I can't write." Yes, you can.
What interested yourself and your wife into coming to Parkside at Westminster? What do you like about it here?
We looked even before we sold the house, where we wanted to go once we sold the house. And I researched all of them, and I liked Parkside, period. I went up here, I got a tour, I met with Dick, and we talked about it and all of that. And what we liked about it wasn't just a place to live. It was a pretty wide community. We have gathered more friends in this place than we did for years and years and years. And you get to see other people's personality. Now, that means a lot to me, because when I write, I like to find the personalities I can put into my writing. I've started a novel, and there's two people here that don't know that they're going to be in it.